Howdy neighbor, how is your garden growing? Really what we're doing today is a lot of summer prep because we're right at the beginning of summer, and this is the season if your crazy wasn't in a box. If you have not maintained your crazy, your wildness, your plants, it's about to get out of control. So what we're focused on this year, instead of being like, forget it, and letting it go absolutely nuts through the summer so that we can spend all of fall trying to get it back under control so that we can rest for the holiday. It's a mess every time. With my planner this year, I was like, June, we are going to get this thing under control before it becomes a mess.
Yes.
So that's what we're gonna be doing. We're doing summer prep, and it's gonna kind of look like a couple different things. I don't know how much we're actually gonna get done in this video because there's a lot of work. We've already kind of let it go through the spring, which wasn't a great idea, but you know, we didn't have tools, so just own where you're at, right? Just you too, like if whatever in spring or winter or whatever, just own where you're at and then move from there, which is what I'm doing.
Yeah, me too.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, he is too. And so what that's going to look
Do I
like,
have a choice?
Not really.
Exactly.
But
Technically,
eventually the yard will get so wild looking that usually like cities or counties or someone comes in and is like, this is like a big problem for people who have like cottage garden native plants. Is often like, we know what we're trying to do, and if it's in a more naturalistic way and we're letting things kind of go through their season sometimes with how we place things and maintain them, it just gets too wild, and it gives a pretty easy opening for the city to be like, take it all out, put a lawn in, or else we're gonna mow it all down. Or we'll charge you $50 a day or $75 or some amount, whatever. But like, that's not the focus. Also, I am more type A personality than maybe this channel shows. I am way more organized in the house than the garden would let on.
Yeah.
That is a fact. We're also going to be laying down mulch. I've kind of mapped out in my planner like some areas I've got more of an idea of what I want to do with the space, so I kind of have some areas that I just want to make sure we have mulch to create some clear borders, because like when you have it a little wild, having clear borders kind of makes people feel okay about it because you keep it crazy in a box. Yeah. And then the other thing,
and paths to walk. Right.
And literally, Ben's big on paths, if you haven't noticed. I mean, why? I don't know. How unreasonable.
I'm very unreasonable.
Totally. And then, okay, so we'll put mulch down paths. Oh, we need to finish, well, we need to fix the string trimmer because that broke last time, so that's got to get fixed. And then we need to cut back some of that frog fruit so we can make a path. And I have some ideas, but I want to show you those. So let's all talk amongst ourselves. I'm gonna go get the planner and I'm gonna show you guys all what I'm thinking. Ben doesn't even know what I'm thinking. So
it's true.
We'll just do it all together. Okay, so here is the plan. This is the plan.
Okay.
Okay. So,
explain.
Yeah. So here's the idea. So we're going for a Florida English cottage garden. That's been the dream for this front yard section. And English cottage gardens tend to have like very curvy, like edges and borders and paths, and our natural sidewalk, so it already has a curve to it, and then we live on a corner, so the front of our yard is just naturally curved. So there's already some like curve built in without us doing anything. But in this section back here, what we had done is we created just a straight path. Actually, Peanut and I created just like a straight path this area last year, and the frog fruit's grown over it. So as I was kind of trying to figure out, like, do we keep the pavers there? Do we create a curve? We don't have that many pavers, nor are we buying any pavers in the near future because budget. But what I was trying to think is like, one of the things that I just really don't want to deal with and kind of to knock back the frog fruit is I was just thinking like, why not just make a box, because we're keeping crazy in the box, around just the 3 raised beds. Just keep it like really simple, straight triangle. And this creates some like really clear border. Rectangle.
Okay, I was super confused for a second.
Sorry. Since a child, I flip triangle and rectangle all the time. But I know what I mean in my head. So with the mist flower and wild petunias back here, and then we have frog fruit, and like I was going to really just focus a lot on goldenrod because goldenrod can grow up and through it, and maybe we can use that to push it out. It's kind of my thinking right now because there's some goldenrod popping up all throughout the yard, and so I was thinking what I did actually last weekend when we were doing the cleanup, is I just like yanked some that was like in not great spots as we were edging, and I just shoved it in the ground, and it looks like it's surviving. So there's some others that are like on the edge of the sidewalks and stuff that I was like, oh, we'll just see how much they take over. So that's what I was thinking, is we put like a box, just a clear, and then that way when we go to relay mulch, whatever interval we're gonna relay mulch in the future, it's just a very simple process, which is better, I think.
Simple is good.
Simple is good. As those who've laid a lot of mulch over time, I think having just like a very clear rectangle box around this so that we can walk around all the beds is best. And then what I was thinking is we actually pull up the pavers and we just make the mulch path big enough on the front side that that's just like the line. And then the pavers get actually put right here, a few of them, and the other pavers go out to this other section. Because we don't have a ton. Maybe we'll do more in the future. I don't know. We can figure that out. But for right now, I was just like, you know what? Once we free them of the frog fruit, I think a lot of that's going to get covered up by mulch anyways, because to make a big enough rectangle around these. And the rest of the frog fruit. Thank you. And then I figured then that can become our edging line. So as we maintain and keep the frog fruit back until it breaks down so much, we have to reply mulch. And then the other area is just make a big rectangle around this. I had been debating in this garden right behind me, like, do we do a winding path, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. But for right now, what I figured, make a nice rectangle around this section, again, so we can just access. I had thought about like, well, do we allow the frog fruit to grow through in some areas? And I was just like, this is getting overly complicated. I think just honestly, and I was looking back at some old footage of the garden, and I was just like, man, you know what? It did look really good back in the day when we had grass, and it was just like a very simple box around that section. I thought it looked a lot nicer. And then I can let a lot of the wildflowers and stuff. And I think that'll be easier for us to maintain in the long run. The reason we had done the sunshine mimosa in the area was to not have to lay as much mulch, but the sunshine mimosa is like growing up through raised beds, and I just don't know that that's the thing we want to do.
Yes,
it can
it's
still
pretty prolific.
Yeah, it can still grow all in like here. I don't care, you know, in this area, and the Dune sunflower can all grow in there. Like, I think that's fine. And the frog fruit, that's cool. I just don't want it like in this rectangle. And then I thought to cut through all the wild flowers is that we take some of the other stones and just put them as a path right here. So we laid some mulch and then we put the stones on top. And that was what I was thinking. And then, not gonna happen today. I can already tell like how, just knowing how long it takes us to move mulch and stuff. In the future, I'm thinking there's certain areas that I think we need to just have some like mulch rings around, like this circle hedge over here for right now. What used to be the milkweed garden in the back that's too shaded out, that's like way over here, should probably have a mulch circle. The bananas, and the reason is because weeds and grass from our neighbor's yard are coming in and getting out of control in those areas. But I don't know that we're gonna get all that today. I can actually guarantee we're not gonna get to all that today. So that's the game plan of like what I'm thinking. And then this front area for right now, I'm just thinking we let it reseed because there's so many like good reseeders. I don't know if that makes sense.
Like we got a good thing going on with up front right now.
Yeah, like, I mean, I feel like the coreopsis is gonna reseed really well. I'm really excited to see if Joe Pye weed. And really all I wanna do this year, I know we had talked about like maybe putting in like a bird bath or something, but actually what I started thinking about with this year is like, maybe we just put in some more wildflowers in that middle section. And then we just allow stuff to keep evolving in that front section with like a lot of tall wildflowers. And then like we just see kind of how it wants. And then we just have like, that's the space for it. That's what I was thinking. You know, we might hate it next year. That totally will happen. Or I'm just like, or like narrow leaf yellow top, which the first 2 years it stayed in its one spot. And I was like, man, it's looking good. It's getting better and better. And now this year there's narrow leaf yellow top everywhere in our yard, like front yard, backyard, side yards. It's all over the place. And now I'm like, oh man, we need to figure out where we want this or don't want this, because it's going to very quickly be everywhere. So that's my thoughts. What are your guys' thoughts? And specifically, what's your thoughts on this right now?
Let's move some mulch in. Well, I guess I gotta figure out the whole string trimmer thing.
Yeah, you do.
So let's do that.
Clock is counting. Because basically, so what we're going to be doing in the near future is we're just basically setting a timer, and it's like, as much time as we got, that's what we got. So, all right, here we go. Break. All right, it's hot. It's gross out. Activate ponytail. So my thought process is that I'm going to kind of pull or knock down a section, and then I will lay mulch on it. That way I don't, like, depending on how much time we end up having today, that way I don't kind of like open up, because every time you pull a weed, right, a lot of times you're pulling the earth apart. That sounds so dramatic, but like the earth is all moving around, which means any seeds that are sitting there are like, cool, time to go. 1, 2, any new seeds are like, cool, time to go. So if I kind of expose an area / trample an area, and then I put the hot mulch on top of it, like, it's gonna kind of like be like, you're dead, stay dead. And that way, I also, as we go along, I'm not repeatedly touching an area. So it's kind of like, this path is done, this path is done. And I think that's the way I'm gonna pick at it. And that way also, I have a sense of accomplishment. You see some progress. 3, also neighbors, because there's a couple of neighbors who don't like when we have a big pile of mulch for any extended time. When they can see it's being picked away at, they chill out. So. So I got done weeding, knocking down plants, and mulching the interior of the eastern trellis.
I was able to clear this path with the weed whacker after solving the challenges I was having with the weed whacker.
What challenges? We didn't show them your challenges, because that's the magic of editing.
Yeah, I literally been doing like everything wrong that could possibly be done wrong, because I was using the string trimmer. Every time I'd start using it, a couple seconds would go by and it would stop working, and I'd flip it over and see that the line had gotten kind of jammed up inside the whole turning mechanism. Lo and behold, I had wound the replacement string up the incorrect direction. When you look closely, you'll see it actually says rewind, and it has arrows pointing which way to wind it up. I did it the wrong way. So always be very diligent with reading your instructions. And yeah, once I figured that out and I wound it up the right way, it started working great.
The other thing is don't keep trying something that's not working. Because Ben like kind of redid the same thing like
I get stubborn
2 or 3 times, and I was just like, go look it up. I bet it's not, I'm like, something's not right.
Yeah. I'm
like, instead of trying to do it the same way again and failing again. So like,
my intelligence level kind of goes down the more frustrated and angry I get, so.
I didn't say it, you said it. I said I didn't say it, you said it. So what, well, we're gonna break for lunch. But when we come back after this short commercial break, Ben's gonna work on pulling up the pavers and just stacking them so that when we do put the paths, and I will continue weeding and throwing mulch down. That's it. That's what's next. But first we're gonna go eat because that's what we need to do. Okay, see you in a second. Well, I got the outer row done, the middle row done. This is slow. But what I did do is I finished cleaning all the tomatoes off the arch because honestly, the plant might still keep going, but it's not gonna be very productive and it'll just be stressed most of the time. So I'm just gonna let this be Puerto Rican black beans and we'll just focus on that on this arch. Yeah. So I'm gonna try to do the middle row next to the raised bed. And I think I'm gonna end up calling it quits. It's just very slow going. I don't know if I just, in my head, thought it was faster than this. I'm not sure. What happened is that some amount of them I did not realize were on the trellis and they dried and then they popped on open. So I'm trying to get as many as I can, but this harvest has already started. Not harvest, but like it's already started producing. So I'm trying not to go, trying to give myself space to walk, but not, you know. I am also happy that I cleared off the tomatoes off of that arch because what I've typically done is I've left them until fall and then we clear everything off in fall and then we give ourselves time to reset for, well, I don't want to say reset, but then we put Christmas lights, which are stuck on there right now, but whatever. We prep for planting tomatoes and all the good things. So I feel good that I've already gotten the tomatoes off of there. And it's just gonna make it look nicer because it didn't look so nice at times I felt last summer because the tomatoes were dying off. And that's the thing to consider, especially Central Florida and South Florida, especially the southern parts of Central Florida. Like your tomatoes are, if they're not totally done, they're about to be done. So just get ready just to clean all the vines off the trellis. You know, even if some fruit's looking like, it might, like, you're at that tipping point. I'm in 10A, my vines are just like, we're done. So I'm just clearing and grabbing the last of the tomatoes. Some of the tomatoes, I'm just like, I'm not even worried about it. I'd rather just get everything cleaned up. It's a lot. You know why I'm talking, you all who've been here a while know. I'm stalling. All right, let me start working on finishing weeding this area. Though doing this weeding this way has been really good because I don't focus too much on the main aisle unless it's a large plant, and then everything else is just gonna get crushed by mulch. And then I focus mostly on that little like gap that's gonna be on the trellis where plants like veggies are gonna go. I focus on pulling everything from there, and then I just throw under where I'm gonna put the mulch, which minimizes cleanup for later. So that'll be good. Happy day, happy ways. Okay, I'll keep going. I'm tired. Look at that. Doesn't that look just like a lot neater, nicer, tidier? I think so too. But I'm exhausted. It's just one of those times of year where it's like everything takes longer. Plus that mulch pile has like a ton of moss in it, which will probably be great in the long run, but in the short run, it means it's taking a long time to move mulch. That's what it means. It means it feels like I'm just like stabbing into a cushion with my pitchfork. So I'm gonna stop here for right now. We'll return in a little while and we'll keep going at this.